how to share my tips and tricks, and so people can elevate their career and stuff. I'm really good at that. But if I'm in an elevator, like I'm usually I'll just smile and I'll just like, I'll just say, hi, my name is Fidel.
Hey everyone, Stephan here. I hope you're doing well. So again, it is time to connect with one of my favorites. Over time, you get to know people, and some people, you look at their work and you go, damn it, they're bloody good. And then there's the next level where you go, I'm a little bit jealous now. And the person I'm talking to today, well, he's definitely in this category. But at the same time, he is so nice that I just can't help to like him. And I'm so happy that you are here from LA. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Oh my God, it's been a minute since we spoke. I mean, I haven't heard your voice since the Clubhouse days. So it's nice to hear your voice again.
It's so good to see you. And on those Clubhouse days, it's something that I talked with Kid Circus about a week ago. We spent so much time together educating, helping other people. At times we had rooms with 600-700 people in there, all live. And I felt like we really got to know each other as well.
Yeah, we did. We did get to know each other, and you know, those times were like, it was like an escape for me. It was nice to be able to connect with different people from all over the world. And then I got to connect with you. And you know what? I love your work as well. You have beautiful work, and I see your work all the time as well, as I'm always liking. And to be able to connect with people like you and others that are willing to help each other in this industry was incredible. I actually kind of miss those days. We got to do more of them. Start all over again.
Well, we are all back to work. I mean, during COVID, we're all sort of in our confined spaces and couldn't go anywhere. But I think it separated the real pros from the amateurs a little bit, because what we've done is we shared pretty much all our experiences, our knowledge that we gained over a very long time, freely, free of charge, and we were honestly willing to help other people. And in this cutthroat industry where so many people just look for themselves, I think that really separates the real pros who have nothing to fear and are happy to help. Don't you think?
I agree. I really agree with that statement, because when I started, I had nobody wanted to help me. Nobody wanted to work with me. So I kind of jumped into the industry on my own. And along the way, I made a lot of mistakes, which in a way, I'm kind of glad, because it kind of shaped me who I am now. And I kind of look at projects that I'm getting now. If I would have got them back then, I probably would have lost those projects. I wasn't ready. So I think a lot of that trial and error helped me a lot in my industry, especially, you know, doing photography and makeup. But yeah, it's a very cutthroat industry, and people are going to take advantage of you, or it's like you said, it's like a competition. I want to be better than that person. And instead of, you know, creating a network, we kind of divide each other.
Yeah,
That's what I feel.
It is true, but once you are on a certain level, you own that place. I think the better term is you earned that spot because of the years, the mistakes, the learning and everything. And so we don't have to fear anymore. And we are free to share. I mean, one of the most beautiful things for me is to have one of my students succeed. But for those people who don't know you, they must have lived under a rock for some time or whatever. I don't know. But if you would meet someone for the first time in the elevator, how would you introduce yourself in 30 seconds?
I'm really shy, actually. I probably wouldn't say anything.
You are not shy.
I am a very shy person, like in person. Like if I'm like out and about, I am really, really shy. And I know that I do a lot of like, I travel and I teach. I'm an educator, and, you know, I do a lot of shows here and there. When I'm on stage, it's a complete different vibe. It's like I'm feeding off the energy of the crowd, and I want to teach and share what I've learned and my mistakes and how to, you know, how to share my tips and tricks, and so people can elevate their career and stuff. I'm really good at that. But if I'm in an elevator, like I'm usually I'll just smile and I'll just like, I would just say, hi, my name is Fidel. That's it.
The reason why I ask this is these elevator pitches can always go into two directions. And one of them is, oh, I'm a producer, I'm a this and that and the other, blah, 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 blah. Or what would be more my thing is if someone says, so who are you? I would say, I'm a dad. I have the most amazing children, and I do for a living what I love. And then they would actually have to ask me, so what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I make people look amazing. But yeah, for me, this is sort of like the secondary. It's like the cuddles that I get from my kids. That is number one. And so your answer is actually a really good one. You're saying, well, I actually have two personas. The one is the private, which is the lovable you. And then it's the stage pig that goes, here I am, learn from me. In your bio, you know what? The funny thing is I actually never read your bio because I know you now for so long and I've always had your voice in my ear and I see your work, but I've never really read your bio. So today, I actually, on the way here, I read your bio and it says, I work with famous people. That is a cool line. Tell me about this line.
Well, that actually came like that my Instagram is just more for work. And so one of my friends, they do a lot of social media content, and he looked at my bio before and it's like, it's too personal. No one knows what you do. So he's like, keep it short and keep it they want me, like his idea was, what do you do? What do you provide for others? And who are you? So that's what my bio is, kind of short but straight to the point. And you really can't put a lot of bio on Instagram. It limits you to what you can put on there. So I just kind of put stuff that's kind of important that I do in my work, because that's more work related.
Yeah.
So that's what that means. I work with famous people because I do work with famous people.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
It's just kind of like an attention grabber, to be honest. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like what's really interesting is like my Instagram following is not really huge. Like I'm more word of mouth and everything. And it's really interesting because sometimes I'll just post a video that has nothing really to do with my end result. Is just like a BTS, and it gets a lot more likes than me putting my actual finished like image online sometimes, which is really interesting to me.
It makes sense because if you show your final product, the image that then goes onto posters or goes into shops for a brand or whatever, they're polished. And first of all, you work generally with very gorgeous people. And then you put your magic touch onto it, both in terms of makeup and then photography. So this is a perfect thing. But where is the human aspect? And when you show those behind the scenes thing, that's when you see the smiles, the laughter, the human part of it, the energy, the movement, all those things that are sort of hidden on the poster. I find when I post something, I want it to be perfect. But people don't want perfect. They want that.
No, they don't.
So sometimes I think I should just mess it up. Maybe I would get more likes if I put shit up there.
You know what it is? A lot of times I think also they want to know who you are as a person and individual. And a lot of times I've had clients that won't like any of my images. They won't follow me, but they've kept their eye on me for like a minute. And then all of a sudden they'll just reach out and want to work with me because they want to know who I am, like behind the lens as well. They want to make sure you're likable and that you're respectful and that you're going to be professional about certain things as well. So Instagram's become like this, like the new portfolio, because now, like, honestly, a lot of times clients would even ask for a website or a portfolio. The first thing they ask is like, can I see your Instagram page? Which is really interesting to me, because I go back in the day where, you know, we had physical portfolios that you would hand to people so they can see your work. So I'm trying to adapt to this whole new social media thing. And Josh, my husband, also manages me. He's like, you need to do more things about you so people can see who you are as well. And I'm trying really hard, but it's a little bit different. You know, when I started, it was always hush hush. Couldn't take pictures on set. You know, we had it sign NDAs. You know what I mean? So, so this whole social media thing is just really like the next level for us to either move with the times or we're going to stay behind.
There was a time you two were walking on the beach somewhere, and I'm not sure. I think it was after one of the shows that we've done for Behind the Lens, and you didn't sound too well. You sounded like you were not happy or whatever. And I actually contacted you and we had a chat. And just to see how you go, right? That's probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
I remember that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. And, you know, that's what friends are doing. So, but I constantly heard him in the back going like, no, you have to do this. Listen to him. This and this and this. This and this and this. I'm like, this guy is good. You need that, because you're this.
I do.
You're this creative genius that sometimes just needs, bloody show yourself on Instagram. Do this. You need that. Like I have that with around me as well, where people say like, Stephan, get down from your artist horse. You also run a business.
Yeah. I think we get so locked up into like our creative mind that we forget we're human sometimes. And at that particular time, I was stressing out a lot because I wasn't able to see my family and I was worried for them. And then it just happened that like I started having anxiety and all these things, and I couldn't get out of. I live in downtown Los Angeles, but I also live 2.5 hours north of here, which is more like countryside. So I need time to get away from the buildings and the city. I'm not a city boy, so being locked up was really getting to me, where we had to take midnight walks, in the beach and stuff like that. So thank you for checking up on me. But yeah, it was a rough time and it's interesting because you were the only one that noticed that. Nobody else did. Not even my family noticed that was something like not right. And you picked up like that. And I remember that call. We were at the beach. But thank you. But see, things like that, we connected and, we help one another. Yeah. And if I can ever be there for you, if you ever need someone to talk to in the middle of the night or whenever, and if you can get a hold of me, I'm here for you, buddy.
Oh, that's the beautiful thing, because we connect through our art, but then it just goes that one step further.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter how good your work is, assuming that it is on a certain level, of course. But what then makes people come back is your persona. Is your personality, because there's a ton of people out there who can create amazing images.
Yeah.
But who do you want to high five when you see them in the supermarket? Who do you want to give them like a big bear hug? It's those people that you gel with. Yeah. And I much rather, I don't want to go too far down in terms of quality of results, but if I have to go a little bit down and get the bear hug, that's where I go for.
Yeah, me too. I think it's important, and if you think about it, back in the, in like the 90s, the 2000s, your clients were very like, you stayed around, you connected with them. It wasn't just like business. It was on a different level. There were connections being made. There was loyalty, all that. And a lot of times now that's kind of forgotten. I don't know if you've noticed that, but a lot of the new clients are starting to they're trying to go back into those great connections that were made back in the day as well. Things are changing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, for me, not much has changed. Maybe because I'm nearly 60 years old and I just don't follow trends. I just don't really care. My kids give me the shits for it all the time. You should be on TikTok. You should do this and that. You're like, I can't dance. I mean, if you would see me, if you would see me doing, maybe I would get a huge following because I would look so crap, right? Or like, what is this old man trying to do the thing?
Well, I think it would be different. I don't think it would be crap. I think it would be something different, and it would probably be refreshing. People would be like, "Oh, I like him because look, he's so confident, and yet he can't dance, but look, he's having a good time." And I think that's what's going to draw people in. So I think it would be a hit.
I'm not sure if that would actually translate in paying jobs. Naya, my older daughter, she's now studying medicine. I have to pay for that degree. I don't think that TikTok would actually help me. I think I stay with producing and creating images, which actually pays for the mortgage.
Right. No, that's true. I mean, it's another job. It's like it's a hard job. Doing social media content is not an easy thing. That's a job in itself.
Yeah. I love the fact that I can stay in contact with my family in Switzerland, obviously at the other side of the planet, with awesome people like you. I can see what everybody is doing. For that, I really, really love it. But I hardly ever post. I should post more. Everybody's like, oh, you should post. Like, I don't produce enough to post something new every single day. I just don't have this much material, brand new material every single day to be a social media influencer, because I have to run a business. I have to retouch. I have to get, when one job is finished, I have to make sure I get the next job. Then I travel a lot, and I just don't have enough material to post unless I produce that fake stuff. Again, I have to remember that I'm not just talking to you as a friend, but there's people seeing this on YouTube, so that they might want to know a little bit more about you than bloody me. So how does that combination, I can't even say it properly, MUAgrapher.
You said it right.
Close enough? Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that come about that you do the makeup and the photography?
Well, I started as a makeup artist first, and not having a book at the beginning, I started, trying to work with any photographer that would work with me, that would hire me, or not even hire me, or just bring me on a project so I can get, a book. And for a while, probably about a good 3 years, 4 years, maybe even 5, I was just running around working for free to try to work on my book, and not knowing the industry really well, to be honest. I thought that if I can get, those pictures and go to an agency and show them my work, in hopes that they would like my work, and then they would help build me a book. And I was really mistaken. That's not how it works.
It's not how it works.
No, but being new, like I said, I was so green. And long story short, I went to a makeup convention, and I took a class that had industry people, model agencies, just people in the industry trying to help kind of educate you of the industry as well. So being there, I brought my book, and I'm like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me, getting in front of an agent and then show them my book and see what they think, get some feedback. Well, out of hundreds of people, after the class was over, everybody left, and I stayed, and I walked up to one of the agents there that had a artist agency. And Timothy Priano, artist by Timothy Priano, in Los Angeles. And I was like, can you check my book, see what you think? And he grabs my book, he puts it down, he goes, no, I won't look at your book. What I am going to do, and he reaches in his pocket, grabs a card, hands it to me. He goes, out of everyone here, no one had the guts to come up but you. And I like that about you. Call my office, make an appointment, and then I'll see your book then. I get to his office. He starts looking through my book, and then he starts questioning me. who's this? Is this your sister? And I'm like, no, she's a model. She's like, she's not a beauty model. She looks like somebody's sister. Turns the page. And then he really starts going like really deep into my work. And then he's like, what's going on right here? Like the eyes are floating. Like it's the retouching. I can't even see the skin. Turns the page. And then he goes, closes my book and goes, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, where do you see yourself in the industry? And I was like, I would like to do like fashion and red carpet, blah, blah, blah. He goes, from the looks of this, and he opens my book. He goes, it looks like you want to go into the adult industry. Oh. And then I kind of looked at him and he goes, yeah. And he goes, this girl on your portfolio, she's like double or triple D's, and I cannot even see her face because her breasts are hanging out. And it's like, this is not what I'm looking for. This is the wrong material. So he closes my book and he's like, work on your book and come back. There's something about you that I like. There's something about you. I don't know what it is, but I like you, he said. And I was walking out the door and he goes, Fidel, I'm asking you to come back, and I don't ask people to come back. And the secretary is like, take that as like a big yes, like go and work on your book. He's like, that's a huge compliment coming from him. So I got all excited, walk outside. Josh, of course, is outside and he's all happy waiting for me to get out of this interview. And he goes, what happened? And I told him the entire story. He got a little upset. I'm like, don't get upset, Josh. This is the first time that someone's actually critiqued my work. I need this. I'm not going to like hide in the corner. I know what to do now, and I'm happy. I'm going to work harder. And he goes, well, you have a camera at home. Why don't you just shoot the stuff yourself? I threw a fit. I kind of got really, really upset. And I'm like, my words were, I don't effing know anything about photography. I have no idea what to do but push the button. I'm not an effing photographer. I don't want to be one. And I'm throwing a fit. And then he looks at me and goes, are you done with your temper tantrum? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm not asking you to be a photographer. I'm asking you to shoot some of your work. Like, you know what he wants. Try to shoot that to give it to other photographers so you can like start building your book again, but with better photographers. Because the photographers that I was working with were your guy with the camera that shoots the pretty girls in this garage that just want to see the pretty girls.
The blonde double Ds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So then I'm like, okay, fine. So then I just, I remember going to Barnes & Noble and I sat there and started looking at all the photography books. Just any photography book I would pull out. I would either buy it or I would sit there and read. I wanted to learn how to use my camera, what the camera functions were. Because I figured if I can figure out the functions, then I can start taking my own pictures. And that's how it started. The more I read the photography books and learned about how light, falls on the face, how you could manipulate shadows and lighting, I started to think, okay, that's like makeup. Like we use makeup, like it's the same, light and shadows, with highlights you bring forward, with shadows you pull back. And I'm thinking this is the same with lighting for photography. So I picked up the camera and the rest is history. I just started shooting and shot my book. And I actually lost a couple of jobs when photographers found out that I shot my book. And that was really sad because I figured you would like me because I understand lighting. So if you tell me it's going to be flat lighting, my makeup application is going to be different for flat lighting than directional lighting, than outdoor lighting, than flash photography, warm lighting, gels. There's certain makeup colors that you don't use with gels because it's going to disappear or it's going to intensify the color. So I thought it would, work and they would like it. But I lost some jobs when they found out that I shot my book. Like you said, in the industry is really cutthroat. But I kept going. And to be honest, photography made me a better makeup artist, if that makes any sense. Because
it makes perfect sense. Whenever I hear stories like this, it just puts that tick in the box for me, because that's exactly how I approach it when I have a new makeup artist. So I had a makeup artist for about 10 years. And we know each other so well. But one of the reasons why Sarah is so good, or was so good, now about fortunately for her, but unfortunate for me, she's now a mom. She's super happy. She doesn't have as much time for me anymore, which is a little bit sad. But anyway, one of the reasons why we worked so well together is over time, she could have done those photo shoots herself. She knows about the lighting. She knows about my camera settings. She also knows every bad joke that I generally have in my arsenal that I use. She just cringes by now when I make a joke, and the client laughs, and she heard it already 10 times because it's like whatever. But what makes her good at her job is before she even starts to do foundation or whatever, she looks at me and says, "What are we going to do?"
Yeah.
Right? And I say, well, this will be very much Hollywood. Very strong shadows. She's like, all right, I don't have to do much contouring then.
Exactly.
Because the light is going to do it for her.
Exactly.
But she knows she needs to be very, very careful with reflections because the light is so specular.
Yes.
So before she even opens her makeup, she asks me, what are we going to do today? And so what you're saying makes perfect sense, absolutely perfect sense. But you've moved on from being the makeup artist who just also knows a little bit about cameras. You've become a bloody insanely good photographer.
Oh, thank you. It just studying. Like, I also believe that, photographers should really also they don't have to learn makeup or learn fashion, like to do it themselves, but they should know to have the eye for it. And I think that being a makeup artist gave me a different eye for photography. It kind of like both sides made me see the world completely different. And I'll give you an example. When I first started, I didn't know photography, right? I was working with a photographer and he wanted heavy liner. And I'm like, are you sure you want this heavy liner? He goes, yeah, and I want a bold red lip. And then I asked him, I was like, are we going to keep this lip throughout the shoot? And he's like, no, we're going to go with a nude lip later. And I'm like, you are aware that the red lip is going to stain the lip. And when I take it off, it's going to be a stained lip. It's not going to give you that natural, nude lip. And he's like, no, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, ended up doing it. And the liner was a really cap liner that came out like this, right? And then he had me do that liner, and then he had the model do this the entire time with her head tilted down. Well, that just took the liner that came like this into a liner that went like this.
Oh, right.
So it was a complete waste of time. For me in my book, I couldn't use that because it doesn't demonstrate the liner. If you're going to have your head tilted down, the liner needs to be a different shape to be able to give you that same shape. It's a different execution, We did a Marilyn Monroe look, and then the photographer decided to turn her contour gray and her lips gray instead of red lips. So couldn't use that. So, I'm kind of glad that I picked up the camera because it did help me, along the way to understand different things. And, and I think it also came a little easier for me because I started to put, the concept of makeup, of shadows and highlights in the lighting that I use when I do photography as well.
Yeah, as you know, I'm mostly doing ballet and dance photography, so super close-up makeup is not that important. But exactly the same that you say for me applies because those dancers want to see every little muscle in their legs.
Yes.
When they jump or whatever. And I see so many people who think in dance photography, as example, it's about a pretty picture. Not one dancer cares about the pretty picture. They care about the perfect technique, and they work so hard on their bodies. If I don't light it so that there are those highlights next to those shadows and really outline every muscle that they work on 8 hours a day for 6 days a week, then the photo is worthless, even though it may be pretty. And as you say, when you have the head in a certain way or you have the light in a certain way, that then influences how you approach your makeup. Or you have a makeup idea, you then decide what kind of a lighting do I want to use, what kind of an angle do I want to use to really bring that home.
Yes,
So
correct.
what would you say now is sort of the percentage? Is like, are you mostly doing makeup and photography all in one? That's your package? Or do you still work just as a makeup? Can I mean, I know I can't afford you, but can I still hire you as my makeup artist?
Yes, you can. Yeah. If I had to choose, if someone said you one or the other, right? Makeup or photography, I would be a photographer instead.
Okay.
Because I understand the makeup lingo. So I'd be able to tell makeup artists exactly what I want, how I want it, and even give them an entire, step by step on what it should look like and help them out as well. Because there's a lot of makeup artists that don't understand lighting.
There's makeup artists who don't understand makeup. Let's be very honest.
And that too. They want to throw everything on it. I'm like, no, I do a lot of different types of photography and makeup as well, but I don't like to change the model's face. I don't like to reconstruct her bone structure so it doesn't look like her. I want just the model to be a little bit just cleaned up a little bit and still show the beauty of her, if that makes any sense. I don't want to make everyone look angular and like it's going to look like the same makeup throughout, just stamped on every people. It's not like that. It's like you have to like know what type of skin, their bone structure that's going to make them look better.
I honestly believe those people that are multidisciplinary are usually better at executing.
Exactly. And when also in my field here, I've worked with photographers where they let the team do whatever they wanted. Like hair was doing whatever hair wanted to do, and then wardrobe brought whatever they wanted to do, and then the lighting of the photographer was completely like let's just say it was like very 1920s, very like spotlight, and then the wardrobe was too futuristic, and then the hair went completely in a different direction, then makeup went like in a different direction. It's like there is like no structure, and that was a big issue with me as well, because when I would show up to do these jobs, the photographer didn't have a plan either. So it made me realize later on when I was doing photography to have a plan for like, okay, this is like kind of where we're going to go. This is the lighting, because it has to come together and make sense at the end, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense, because you also have to communicate with your client. And
yes.
If you have a huge budget, if you work for Coca-Cola, you're in Bora Bora and you have a $2 million for models, well, that's all sweet and well. You can do whatever you want. But you have to convince people to work with you, and you have to show them a concept before. If you don't know what you want, if you have no concept, how are you going to communicate? And then afterwards, let's say the client, for whatever reason, comes back and says, oh, but this is not what we expected. Well, that only happens if they don't know beforehand what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, sometimes you don't have control. You have creative directors there and everything. They just kind of tell you, this is the type of lighting we want, blah, blah, blah. But there's other times that the client comes to you and wants your vision because they like what you do. And it's like, okay, I have this product and here's my concept. Now you put it together. And that's when I feel like you're only as strong as your team. Like you need everyone on that team to be on the same level, on the same page, helping one another. Because if they all bump heads, it kind of, it puts a damper on the project.
Oh, totally. Well, team, to me, at the beginning, I always thought, team, I can do this. I'll quickly, I adjust. If I adjust that light, I know exactly where it's going and this and that. But it's actually, aside from time and trusting people, it's so much more fun. The amount of times I missed something small because I was focused on something else. Sarah comes and taps me on the shoulder and said, do you want that bra strap in the photo? And I'm like, what? Because I'm so focused on the eyes and the expression or the movement or something.
Yes.
And it's a bright red. A blind person can put, and I didn't see it. Right? So once you're in a team and they go like, should we do something about those alien hair that are trying to call home? And I'm like, Oh shit, I didn't see that. But I understand at the beginning it's difficult because you're still in that competition thinking mode and thinking I can do it myself. And this old proverb, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. But if you're going to want to go far, you go together.
Exactly. It's just, I think, having a good team is super important. Like you said, sometimes they're your eyes like, hey, I don't know if you noticed. And I'm like, okay, no, I didn't, but thank you. And, I'm just glad that Josh is like my second pair of eyes when I'm shooting. So he's kind of keeping like everyone like, okay.
Keeping you under control.
Keeping everybody. Yeah. he makes all the connections and he's like, all right, like, that's Fidel. He's the brain, like creative, like I'm the business side because it really balances me out. I don't have to worry about any of that. He takes care of all that for me. So it's a blessing having Josh, to help me out. He was there since number one and he saw all the times I got taken advantage and and all the times that like he's like you should have charged more or you didn't charge enough or blah blah blah. And so one day he was like, I'm gonna do it from now on. I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do. And I'm really grateful for that because it took a lot off of me. And I could just do my craft and be creative and not have to worry about all the financial stuff and the books and all that. So that kind of helped out. But it's really hard. It's not easy doing it yourself when you don't have someone like him that's like, telling you like your next appointment, your next booking is this, and don't forget in 3 days. Like he's really good at all that. I got lucky.
One thing that I think makes you special, aside from obviously your work, is that you have no problems to mention all these sort of things because what you mentioned with being depressed, being not sure, feeling down, missing family, sometimes the overwhelming situation that we do run a business at the same time we want to be creatives, etc. Most people that you hear, they sort of put that aside. They pretend to be Superman all the time.
Yeah.
And I find that very unhuman, unbelievable. I think it's beautiful that you actually mention these sort of things because we all feel exactly these things.
Yeah.
But people usually pretend to be, I don't know, supernatural. I got everything under control. Truth is, no, there's, sorry to say like that, there's shit times when we just scratch our heads and think, well, I might as well just throw the camera out of the window and give up.
You know what?
But that is normal.
It is.
That is normal.
It is.
And I hallelujah. Thank you for actually saying it because like I haven't met too many supermen and superwomen in my life. We're human.
Yeah, we really are. And a lot of times I meet people and, they're just starting out or they've been doing it for a while and they feel stuck. And, they'll come up to me and be like, one day I hope to be like you. And I was like, yeah, you will. You can. And they look at me like, no, I won't. And I'm like, you know what the difference between me and you? And then they're like, they'll just sit there and look at me. And I'm like, I've been doing it longer. That's it. You'll catch up. It's like, just don't give up and keep going forward and you'll get there. As I was there at one point, you just don't get to see that.
Yeah.
You get to see like all the stuff that I'm doing now and creating and I'm throwing it online, but you didn't see all the other stuff that, when I had issues, which, back in my Facebook, I did post a lot of my beginning photos and some of the stuff that like from then to now. And it's like, we all started at a certain point in our life. Some of us are just further ahead, so just keep going forward. You'll eventually get there. You can't give up because if you give up, how do you know that maybe in a month you would have done something that would have elevated you? But if you give up before the race even starts, you'll never know.
Future Stephan here. I just realized, adding some music to my conversation with Fidel, that the one thing we didn't touch on is retouching, especially with these high-end portraits that he produces. Retouching is oh so important to give it that final touch, and we spend a lot of time doing so. what a segue to say thank you to Retouch for Me, who helped me creating these conversations. And you should really have a look at their plugins. Now, just to be clear, I paid for my first plugins with Retouch for Me, and I use them on a daily basis, even more. Why don't you just go and have a look in the description below? You find 2 links. Number 1, if you then like those plugins, you can actually save a good amount of money by following that link. And B, I have created 2 videos where I show you how I use these Retouch plugins on a daily basis. Based on AI, saves me oh so much time, but rather than me talking about it, go and have a look. Well, maybe do so after my conversation with Fidel. Anyway, I'll put some more music in, and I hope you enjoy.
I think it's important to learn what you're shooting as well. Like you said, like with your photography, right? I remember talking to you about that, and when you said that, you know, the models don't care what it looks like, it's about their form, it's about that muscle, it's about, you know, getting them move correctly, because that's how it should be done. We just did a ballerina shoot, and I was just a makeup artist, and I'm looking, and the photographer's asking the ballerina to jump in this weird move, and she's trying her hardest to really like execute it, and he's like, no, it looks great, I'm like, no, you would have picked that apart. It's like her angle, her knees bent too much, like her legs not up the right way, her neck's not picked up the right way, her arms not like where it should be. But it's funny because like I immediately thought of you as like, you know, like your work. When I see the dancers do their jumps, they're beautiful. It's like they're graceful and they're all balanced. So I love your work. I'm a fan of your work.
Aww. I'll send you the $20 just like I promised.
Okay, PayPal.
I'll PayPal you for that compliment. You delivered it believably. I love it. It really came across as if you actually meant it. So I
did mean it. I really did. But I remember having the conversation because I never thought about it until Clubhouse. When you talked about it, I was like, oh, it makes sense. It made a lot of sense. And ever since then, like when that ballerina was there, I was like, no. And she kept telling me like, I'm not hitting it right. But the photographer was really happy because the lighting and everything looked good to him. But she was kind of like, my leg's not up enough. And, you know, I needed like push more. And I'm like, and then you came to mind. I was like, yeah, it's not easy what you do. So props on that.
Well,
because it's hard.
I don't find it hard because I've been on stage myself, right? When I was young and still had hair, I was working on stage for 15 years. And I believe if you want to be a good sports photographer, you better know about the sport that you photograph. If you want to be a good dance photographer, it's better that you know about dance. If you want to be a ballet photographer, you better know about ballet. So then you can actually speak the same language, right? If they say, well, I'm going to do a high arabesque or this and that and the other, or a certain jump, I can help them because we speak the same language. Aside from making it pretty, I can also now see the small little nuances, the details, because been there, done that, didn't get a t-shirt, but at least I can take photos of it now. So I believe whatever you do, if you say, I want to become a fashion photographer and you're not interested in fashion, it's never going to work.
Exactly.
It's never going to work. And I think something that you and I discussed a long time ago, by the way, we said we will talk about for 10, 15 minutes. You're fully aware that we talked over an hour now.
No, I'm not.
This always happens. I think we better put a lid on this thing, at least when it comes to YouTube. They have to go and, of course, see your stuff. So in the description below, I will, of course, put the links. Jump onto Instagram, maybe even, jump into those DMs and say, oh my God, you're amazing. It sounds so weird, but we artists have thin skin. We always pretend we have thick skin, We always pretend that we can deal with the fact that someone might not like it. But the truth is, for every 100 compliments, if there's one negative in it, that's the one that we will carry with us for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
So we need 101 compliments just to compensate. Yes. So if you see something with this amazing talent's work, my work, anyone's work, just drop someone a DM. Tell them that you really enjoy what they're doing. You wouldn't believe how important that is to us, because we started because we love it, and we still do it because we love it. Yes, it does pay for the kids' education, the mortgage, the yacht, and the private jet, but we still do it because we love it. So send that man your love if you can. At least if you're really lazy, just give it a like. How about that? Does that about sum it up, sir?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I enjoyed talking to you. Like I said, we could have been talking for hours and hours. But thank you for having me on. I wish, you were sitting right next to me, so I should give you a big old hug. But thank you so much for having me on. Thank you to whoever's out there watching us. Thank you so much. Peace and love.
All right. Well, I couldn't close it any better than that. All that I can add to it, which I always say at the end, is go out and create something awesome.